everybody, welcome to Q&A. So if you've ever been to a job interview that just didn't work out, maybe the vibe was all wrong, maybe there was no chemistry between you and the interviewer, and maybe when you tried to tell them stuff about yourself, they didn't really seem to believe you, and the whole thing was awkward and off-putting, and it didn't work out. If you've ever been in that situation, or maybe you've been in that situation several times, I got great news for you, and that is that you don't need to go through a recruiter. There are other ways of getting a job, and a lot of them are far better. In this video, we're going to talk about job applications versus employee referrals or personal referrals. Now, last week, I did a video called How to Get a Job, and I'm going to put the link to that right here any moment. Now, in that video, I revealed the fact that 75% of people who get jobs through networking and not through this process of responding to a job ad with the job application and then interviewing with a recruiter that you don't know. Okay? Anybody who has changed careers will know what I'm talking about, because this is the way you change careers, is you go through networking and not through recruiters, okay? Recruiters are not networking. Now, in this video, the aforementioned video that I posted, I basically described one method of networking that involved Google Maps and LinkedIn, okay? And I basically detailed a process where you can go and connect to a ton of hiring managers for companies in your area and in your industry, and you send them a message. Now, I got a lot of responses to that video. A lot of people commented on it, and a lot of people sent me direct messages. And I want to give you one person who commented was Alexei. Alexei says, "Hey, I watched this video, went to LinkedIn, found a recruiter of the company where I applied via the applicant management system, and sent a message. Thanks for the inspiration." Well, you're welcome, Alexei. I'm glad you got some value. However, I want to make a critical point here, and that is that this method that I outlined, a way of getting a job through networking, very important point, and that is you don't use networking to connect to recruiters. Instead, you use networking to connect to hiring managers, okay? That's a big point. Most of the time, if you send a recruiter a direct message, often they will tell you to follow standard procedure and send in your job application through standard channels, and that's not really what networking is all about, okay? So very important point, we need to know the distinction between a recruiter and a hiring manager. A recruiter works for HR. A hiring manager is a boss, okay? They run a department, they run a warehouse, they run a division of a company, or they run a process in a manufacturing line. They're a boss. They're the people that decide that they need another employee, and they tell the recruiter, "Get me an employee." Okay, so if you're unaware of the difference between these two roles, I encourage you to do your own research, and this will only help you in your job search process. Okay, now another point I'd like to make is that the process that I outlined, where you connect on LinkedIn to hiring managers and send messages, this can be done by extroverts and introverts. I myself am an introvert, and I've used this method for many years to get consulting work, to get jobs, to get all kinds of things, and I know a lot of people who have too. The great thing is that you don't have to go to social functions and shake people's hands, okay? This is one very important point. Now, so very important that everybody understands the difference between a recruiter and a hiring manager. We're connecting with hiring managers, and we are bypassing the HR organization, okay? We're not going through recruiters. Now, here we come to the difference between a job application and an employee referral or a personal referral. This is very important. Now, when you go through the job application process, as you guys know, is if you're selected for an interview, you go to an interview, and the nature of the interview is very formal and very artificial. Okay, you're wanting a job and they have received many applications and they've chosen you. Okay, and you're very grateful for this, for the chance to speak to them. And they know that you're gunning for a job. So they also know that you will say whatever you need to say to try and get that job. And the job of a recruiter when they do interviews is to use all kinds of tactics that sometimes feel like mind games, to sort of cut through the obfuscation and the exaggeration that you might be doing and really see what type of applicant you are. And then they compare you against all the others. So it's a very artificial process. It always reminds me of a negotiating process. It's not like you're going out on a weekend with your friends. It's not a friendly conversation where everybody's open and honest. Instead, this is more like a negotiation. Everybody's got their armor on. Very rarely will people answer truthfully and openly when asked a question under these circumstances. And I'm talking about both you and the recruiter, okay? They both follow that protocol. Now, I want to contrast this with the type of interview you would do when you're getting a job through networking, okay? If you watched that video that I had talked about earlier, where I advocated for going on LinkedIn, finding the employers in your area, finding the hiring managers within those organizations, connecting to them, and sending them all a quick message that basically said, hello, I'm here. I solve this type of problem. I'm very good at this. I'm looking for a job. If ever you're looking for someone with those skills, please let me know, because I would love to work for your company. I know that you guys do good work, and I would love the opportunity to work there. Thank you very much. Have yourself a good day. Okay. Now, when you follow this process, okay, it's a little bit different from applying for a job, because you don't know if they're hiring. They haven't advertised a job. You're not responding to a job posting. You're just contacting them personally just to say, look, if ever you're looking for someone with these skills, let me know, because I'm right here. I know about your company and I'd love to work for you. Okay? Thank you, goodbye. Right? And you're not necessarily expecting a response from them. In the vast majority of cases, you will not get a response, because a lot of those people, right at this time, you're not looking for someone with those skills. But every once in a while, somebody is. Okay? It's just a matter of statistical probability. A lot of jobs are unposted. And what employers would like to do is they'd like to be able to find someone to fill the vacancy without them having to post it. It costs money to post a job. It takes a lot of work from a lot of people to post a job. And then the interview process, very time consuming. So if they can avoid all of that, they do. And that's why networking is the number one way of getting a job. So the point I want to make is that if you get a response from a hiring manager who says, you know, we may have something. I'm not sure yet, but we might have something. Maybe let's grab a coffee and let's talk about it. If you get that kind of response, the interview that you do is completely different than when you're interviewing with a recruiter for a posted job. That's the point I want to make. Okay? This is more like two people having an open and honest conversation. It's more like the conversation you'd have with your friend when you go out on a weekend together. Okay? It's not like a negotiation, because both of you are just investigating and seeing if there's potential to take this any further. And that makes all the difference in the world. The typical criteria for getting a job that recruiters are obsessed with, things like lists of skills, things like years of experience, those don't apply in quite the same way in this situation. And that's why if you're changing a career, this is the way to go. Okay? So when the hiring manager contacts you and says, you know, we should talk, The dynamic is that now this process becomes like a referral. It's not a job application. It's a referral. They're asking you if you should get together and talk about maybe considering this. It's a different dynamic. And I know from experience that this process, when you go down it, it feels like they're inviting you instead of you applying to them. Huge difference. Huge difference in the way you interact and the way you're treated and your experience. It's a much more pleasant experience. You never have to go and do a panel interview with a bunch of skeptical people that assume that everything you say is either a lie, an exaggeration, or an obfuscation. That's the great thing about this process. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. The bottom line is that as much as some people are surprised by this, you don't need to go through a recruiter to get a job. In fact, most people don't. And if you're having issues going through the standard job application process by responding to job ads and having interviews with skeptical recruiters, and you're not having a lot of success, this is the antidote to that process. And I highly recommend that you do your own research, learn about it, get on LinkedIn, try some of the stuff I'm recommending, and I know it works. It's just a matter of having it work for you. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.